Oh yeah, it's always a first. And if I advance it all the way, this is the closest I'll get. Let's see if it wants to. You see, it almost wants to. Welcome back to Living with a Classic. We're down here in my storage unit, which is also a work in progress, but I call it the gallery. And here is the car I've had the longest, my 1977 XJ12 Series 2. Absolutely love this car, and it's always been one of those really reliable for me. However, the end of the last season, in about October, last time I took it for a drive, well, it didn't go as planned. I've driven it for about an hour, hour and a half, had a lot of fun. I'd actually just handed in my paperwork to my old job to tell them that I was quitting. And I was sort of celebrating. I was out for a nice drive, grabbed some lunch, doing things. I was really close to home, and I hit a bit of a bump in the road, and it backfired out of the intake and out of the exhaust at the same time. Then it was completely dead. Got it home, realized the distributor had somehow jumped. I don't remember exactly now, but I remember about 2 teeth, so somewhere around 60 degrees. That's why it wasn't running. Took the distributor out, rotated it, put it back in, and it ran. And it's been sitting here since then. Once I got it running, I put it in here, and I said, that's it, I'm gonna deal with it over the winter. Well, winter's come and gone, and it's almost summer here. It's June, even though it's raining every single day, which I'm lucky it's not raining right now, because there's a metal roof in here, and it's usually quite loud. But the Swedish Jag summer meet, which you know I've gone to the last couple of years, this year I want to take this car because I'm bringing my son along, and I invited my dad along as well. And that's a nice comfy car for all of us. If it was just 2 of us, we'd grab the XJS convertible. But I need to have a look in this issue, and I have a couple of ideas. So bear with me here. Either 2 things have happened. You have to think about it. This is a low mileage, never been apart engine. Either something happened with my timing chain tensioner, because you have one big timing chain on the V12, and in the middle you have a jack shaft. I'll put a picture of it up here. If something happened with the tensioner and you get slack there, that could jump a tooth, and that's what we want to have a look at. Because that's sort of the worst case scenario. If that has happened, we're not dealing with this now, because I'm very busy with customer cars, things like that, and yeah, I'll just have to drive something else, like the XJ6 or something. But this thing has AC, so that would be nice. However, I've been thinking, and sorry if this is a long intro here, but when I bought this car over 10 years ago, it never really ran right. Even if once I got running all cylinders and everything, it was sitting for like 17 years. It never really ran right, and I put light on it, and then I realized the distributor was 1 tooth out, and that's pretty rare for that to be the case. Yes, you can put them in wrong, but then I remember the previous owner told me that the last time the car was driven, it started running oddly on the way home, and he just put it home and parked, and that's why he parked it. So I'm wondering if the same thing has happened twice. The distributor gear and the bottom distributor has a pin going through it, and it's like a rivet. What if that pin has sheared, and then the distributor gear turns a little bit, and it turned basically 1 tooth out, 20 years ago, and then I put it back, and then I ran it for 8 years like this, and then what if it jumped again when I hit that bump? That's what I'm wondering. I do have lots of spare distributors. All the internals in this distributor are new, like the trigger board and the reopus and all that, but I could transport that over or transplant that over into another distributor. So what we want to do is roll this thing over to top dead center and have a look with a camera at the timing chain, because on that jack shaft there are 2 bolts holding the sprocket on, and I believe that they need to be vertical when everything's TDC, or if it's completely horizontal. It is one or the other. If I find them somewhere in between, then I probably have an issue with timing chain, and that's not something we're going to deal with at this moment. But let us have a look at the car here. Let's roll it over to TDC. I'll show you in a spare engine what that looks like, and we'll try and figure this out. Fingers crossed this is an easy fix and I can drive my favorite V12 this summer. Sorry about the long intro, but it was needed. I have a spare pre-HE engine here, which I have no idea what I'm going to deal with, but it's one of those things. It's nice to have a spare. There is a reason for this engine, though, because I have two projects with pre-HEs, XJ12 Coupe and an XJS pre-HE, where I don't actually know if the engines are any good. The XJS engine I think is good. This one I have no idea. So spare engine would be a good idea. So down here, you have right behind the timing, right behind the water pump, sorry it's dark here, is a jack shaft going here to the distributor. And down there you have the gear for the distributor. However, I have tried on another engine, and I had in the workshop over the winter, that you can get a camera down in here and have a look at that sprocket. At least that's what we're going to try. I don't have a very good endoscope camera. I just have a USB powered one and hook up to my laptop. All right, we'll get that back on. But it should be good enough to see if this is the case. And if everything looks fine there, I feel fine about putting a distributor in it. The reason I really want to check and just not do distributor first is I don't want to put that effort into it with the distributor and then not being able to trust the car, because where I'm driving to, it's like a 8-9 hour drive one way for that meet, and I don't want to be stuck with this car, which has been perfectly reliable all the other years. I grabbed a 7/8 wrench. It's quite easy to turn these engines over, and I have marked all the timing marks really well with a paint marker on this car, so should be able to figure that out. And then we'll go through here, down there, and have a look at that timing gear. All right, we're at TDC over there, so that's really good. Now let's see if we can get the camera in the engine. It just started raining like crazy again, but hopefully you guys can hear me. Have a look here on the screen. So I'm down here. This is the cogwheels on the jack shaft. The teeth don't look too bad. And there is one of the bolts holding in. That's pointing straight up right now. Let's see what happens if I try and move it around a bit. So you see the chain right there goes down around it. And hey, maybe not. This is hard to orient myself, but it looks like that is pointing straight up, and that right there, I'm wondering, what is that? You know what I think we're gonna do? I'm gonna turn my spare engine over and we'll have a look inside that one and see if that looks different, because it is so hard to orient yourself in here. But because I don't know if is that another bolt right there, or is that something else? I decided to try one more time because I realized I haven't removed the distributor caps. I don't know which way the distributor's pointing. And if you have a look, I just had it on screen. It looks like both. Why is this so difficult? It looks like, you see there, both bolts are horizontal. And each turn of the crankshaft is, one turn of the distributor is 2 turns of the crankshaft. So if I am not pointing the correct way right now with the rotor, that makes sense that they're perfectly horizontal. On the other engine, you can have a look at that again, they are perfectly vertical, and I don't have a distributor in that, so I don't know. So I don't think we have an issue. Like if these were at 45 degrees or something else, I'd be worried. But you see, that is the top of the gear right there. There's that bolt there, and there's the other one, and they are pretty much, you know, exactly at the same height. Let me show you the other engine. Here we are in the other engine. And this one's a little dirtier inside. And right there is that sprocket. And you see up on top of the screen, you see one bolt, and you see the one pointing down. So this one is probably completely at TDC correctly. What we'll do in the other engine, we'll remove the distributor cap and have a look if we're pointing at number 1 or if we're pointing at the opposite of that. All right, we are at number 1 TDC. So let me do a little bit more research. I think that is fine. Also, I technically don't think that there is an orientation of that shaft, but there probably is a correct method that was put in the first time. So let me do some research and we'll find out if this is good news or not. After looking through our manual a little bit, here is the whole timing chain, and that's where we're looking. You see, they are horizontal. Same over here. So I think nothing is wrong with timing chain or anything on that car. I think we've had something in the distributor, so I will swap it out for another one. Well, I think that is really good news. One thing I could do is on that spare engine, when it's right now at TDC, I could turn it over one more time, and because I'm not sure if it's actually at TDC, it's just at the marking, and I don't have a distributor in it, but I could remove the cam cover for the A-bank and make sure that everything is set correctly. So I may do that a little bit later, probably do that before the next video on that car and make sure that, you know, kind of double check that's fine. I do also have a couple other engines we can have a look inside and just make sure set them to TDC, but I think that would be the easiest. But it makes sense because I think if I had a timing chain issue or something else jumping, I'd have noise from the timing chain, I'd have things going on, and I don't think that would happen on a low mileage engine that's been pretty well taken care of and, to my knowledge, never really overheated, never had a tendency to run hot or anything, and that this would happen sort of in a bump. However, something going wrong inside the distributor causing weird things to happen, for it to jump up and down, that is definitely a possibility. It needs to swap out. I have 4 or 5 spare distributors laying around. I'll pick one that looks really good and we'll put all the new stuff in. And I think I'll do that pretty soon, and then we can drive it for a bit before, because that meet is in August, and then if I can daily it a little bit, put some miles on it, then I can gain some confidence that it's going to make the trip. I also need some exhaust work on it now. It had a slight exhaust leak before, it was had for years, and whenever it after it warmed up, it would always go away, so I never really cared. But after those big backfires, it now has a pretty bad exhaust leak, if I remember, so I do need to sort that out and then just give it a service and a once over and get it inspected. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.